The magic dimension is home to many different magical beings, each with its own essence. Drawing magic out of pretty much anything, the world of Winx has displayed a vast variety of abilities. Today we'll be counting down my picks for the top 10 powers seen on Winx Club. For this list, keep in mind that it's not about the most powerful abilities, but rather a combination of usefulness, practicality, originality, and all-around awesomeness. So without further ado, let's count this mother down. Number 10. Sonic Scream, held by the Teen and Up Dark Mermaids. I have always loved this power, be it from Black Canary from Justice League, Kira from the Power Rangers Dino Thunder, or just one of the Powerpuff Girls. This is one of my favorite superpowers and I love seeing it in action. Naturally, I've always wanted to see it in Winx Club, and I always pictured Musa belting it. But after a while, I resigned to the idea that was probably never going to happen. But then, in what so happens to be my favorite episode of the series, the gods heard my prayers. Now, it's not exactly a sonic scream, it's more like an amplified enchantment siren song. But I'll take it. I had to have this power on the countdown. But being a one-shot ability that was never explored again, it had to be at the bottom of the list.
Techna, take care of her! Oh, that song, it's getting into my head! It's unbearable!
Number 9. Gemstones, held by Diaspro. Diaspro's power set is awesome and quite interesting. She draws her energy from precious stones and crystals, namely the Jasper Stone. I really like the way her powers manifest, especially the gems that appear and blast beams of energy. And the way she can encase her opponent in a giant crystal is awesome. But unfortunately, this is another power that has not been explored enough. I mean, literally, we've only had 2 episodes where these powers have been displayed, which is a real shame because the potential for this power is quite large. It's definitely one of the most original and well thought out abilities they have come up with.
Have you had enough? No, have you?
Number 8. Healing Touch, held by Plume and Crystal. Every combative team would benefit of having a healer. While there's nothing particularly awesome about it, the ability to aid someone who's afflicted with some sort of wound and bring them back to health is no doubt one of the most practical and useful abilities out there. Wounded comrades can quickly get treated and be ready for the next battle, without having to go through the extensive hassle that we humans would have to go through if we were in their situation. I'll take one to go, please.
It's Bloom's healing power! Oh, look at that, she's using it on herself!
And on us as well!
Number 7. Metamorphosymbiosis, otherwise known as shapeshifting, held by Duman and Whizgis. Now we're talking. The ability to transform and reshape one's body into any other living being. Whizgis' ability that's never truly explored, not even after the fact that it had its own class at Althea and every single fairy could really benefit from this skill. But anyhow, Duman's powers are far more developed and intriguing. He can turn into people, animals, and monsters, which is a great power to have. One could easily fool people and infiltrate the enemy line by pretending to be one of their own. This also serves as a great cover when escaping from the enemy. Pretend to be someone else and get lost in the crowd, right? But that's not all. Duman also shows signs of having omnifarious abilities, which is basically the most perfect form of shapeshifting. He can liquefy himself into fluid, which would probably mean that he could also turn into solid, gaseous, or just pure energy. Meaning that by all means, he could basically be somewhat indestructible. But I'm guessing Rainbow didn't do extensive research on it or just didn't want to make him that powerful. In which case, they should have just left his powers to basic biomorphing and not hint at anything beyond that. But I digress.
His mutations seem to be coming more frequently. It certainly wasn't a spell that reduced him to this state. His energy levels aren't conforming. Duman can't control his powers anymore.
Number 6. Energy Absorption, held by Ogron, and Tritanus, and Valtor, and Lord Darkar. Wait. Is it like a rule that all main male villains must have the power to absorb magic from others or something? Well, at least their approach is different. The power in itself is badass, Pretty much taking your enemy's attacks and repurpose them for your own benefit? Yes please. They didn't really explore that with Darkar. It was more matter-of-factly than anything.
Yes, that's what I'm afraid of, especially since our enemy's ability to absorb magic is dangerous.
With Titanus, it was explored a bit more. He would absorb Earth's pollution and turn it into dark energy, as well as suck in the Selkis powers and use them to open the gates that connect the world's oceans. He also stole Daphne and Aisha's Sirenics powers. Sounds pretty badass on paper, doesn't it? Sadly, the execution wasn't as impressive as it sounds. Then there's Voltor, who was more of a capacitor. He was smart about how to handle his stuff. He didn't just take it and dish. He would absorb the assets of different worlds and store them for better use later. He was a fantastic strategist and didn't waste power. He was very clever in his approach and execution. But the best example of this ability comes in the form of Ogron. He was basically immune to basic fairy magic and could easily absorb energy and turn it back on you with even greater impact.
Protective force field!
Each blow you deliver makes me stronger.
But what separates him from the others is his unusual skill to turn damage into power. I mean, hurting your enemy only makes him stronger is not something I wanna hear when trying to save the world.
I'm not like the others. I absorb damage and turn it into strength.
Number 5. Technology manipulation, held by Tekna. You cannot tell me that that doesn't just sound cool. Anything digital you can think of at the tip of your fingers. Digital surge, electricity control, holographic creation, laser attacks, static retribution, magnetic faculty. Man, this girl is pretty much a magically enhanced computer on legs. There's really not much more to say about it.
Meet your new main computer.
Excellent.
Number 4. Body regeneration, held by the Army of Darkness. This is basically a combination of healing and shapeshifting, which pretty much means indestructibility. Now, the creatures aren't really individuals that have this ability. Rather, they're little insect-like creatures that band together to create bigger physical forms. And it's these forms that sort of display that ability. The little creatures almost work like a mold that once destroyed can just regenerate again. What's so unsettling about these creatures is that due to their ability, they simply cannot be destroyed. They can only be controlled or put to rest. The only reason Althea survived their attack was because the Tricks were defeated, and they were the ones who cast the spell that brought the army. So by defeating the Tricks, the spell was lifted. Why nobody ever brought these bad boys back is beyond me, because triumph is pretty much certain with them on your side. Number 3. Illusion control, held by Darcy, Naboo, and Myrta. This is definitely one of my favorite powers on the show, and in general. The ability to insert illusory imagery into your opponent's mind, or even create actual manifestations of those illusory intentions. Seriously, who wouldn't want to be able to create multiple versions of themselves? What I like about this on the show is that even though there are 3 characters with this power, it doesn't directly seem that way, at least not in an obvious manner. Myrta's powers is a bit more one-shot specific. Her magic is directly linked to her emotions, and she can use those emotions to create the illusory imagery she wishes. But she can't fool the Queen of Darkness herself.
Trying to fool the Queen of Black Magic with the pathetic illusionary effect? Bad trick from a bad witch.
Darcy can do that and so much more, including hypnotizing people and render them powerless to her command. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because unlike Naboo, who has pretty much the same set of abilities, Darcy gets the upper hand for having the source of her power be dark magic, giving her the ability to expand her powers into the manipulation of shadows and darkness itself.
Finished.
Illusion. Power.
Number 2. Sound manipulation, held by Musa and Ganflo. It kind of annoys me how little they've been doing with this ability lately, because it's one of the most destructive powers on the show. In this day and age, Musa's attacks are pretty much just some form of energy that she shoots out of her hands. That's literally all she ever did with Lumix, and she didn't even get any spells with Mythics. But irregardless, the power of sound itself is pretty badass. creating sonar booms that can cause things to break and crumble, sending sonic vibes through solid objects to cause an earthquake, making sonic pressure that can temporarily leave the enemy pretty much deaf. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And who doesn't like her old disco-themed energy shields? And when your enchanting vocal abilities can put Disney princesses to shame, you definitely get my vote. Number 1. Perfected Hydrokinesis, otherwise known as Morphix, held by Aisha. This is the power to beat. Aisha's abilities were so vague that for the entirety of Season 2, I wasn't sure what the hell her power was to begin with. I thought her power source was glue.
What are you doing?
It's magic glue. Brandon, watch out.
But once you get the hang of her magic, you realize that it's freaking phenomenal. She doesn't just manipulate water, as is the case with many elemental team superpowers. Her powers go deeper, to a molecular level, granting her the ability to shape and control any fluid in any state. Basic liquid water, done. Frozen crystallites, done. Gelatin moisture, done. Sticky glue thingy, done. She's not just a water elemental, she's a morphing goddess that can do so much more than she even gets credit for. And the reason she's number 1 is because of the incredible versatility of her magic. With one eye covered, Aisha could practically replace a few members of the club. Need some strong vines to create a protective wall? No need to bother Flora, Aisha can do that. Need to light up a dark environment? Let's Stella sleep, Aisha's on it. Need some false embodiment to trick the enemy? Let Tekna play her video games, Aisha's on the job. Need an explosive display of power? Bloom can take a seat, Aisha's got it covered. This girl can make anything out of Morphix. The possibilities are limitless. I don't know who created this power for Aisha, but whoever it was deserves a raise. It is one of the most original and well-realized powers in and out of the show. Unfortunately, nowadays Rainbow got lazy with her spells and it's pretty much just energy blast after energy blast. There's so much more potential to this power, even though it has already proven to be a very diverse and well-crafted ability. Dragon Flame who? Overrated much? Beyond the very essence of the power, which is admittedly quite strong, what does Bloom have to offer? Seriously, it's just fire. The Fairy of Fluids is where it's at.